So I want to take you to a place called Malgudi and a small school there. And it's April, just a few weeks before the examination. And want to tell you a little bit about Swaminathan and his father, who was changing and getting quite worse. He was becoming fussy, difficult, and all of a sudden he had made up his mind to harass his son. This was a very trying period for Swaminathan's life. One day, he took the matters into his hand, enough to retort, and said, "Why are you so nervous about my examination?" Father said, "Suppose you fail." "I won't." "Of course you won't if you study hard and answer well. But suppose you do fail and all your classmates go up, leaving you behind." Father saw him pondering and then drove him the point. "Suppose all the kindergarten school kids become your classmates, then what?" Swaminathan reflected. Suppose Mani, Rajam, Shankar deserted him and occupied second A. Swaminathan immediately sat at doing decimals all day. Father was happy. Even at school, everybody seemed to be overwhelmed by the thought of the examinations. Shankar, the class nerd, he had not smiled since a week. And the class joker P took some time himself to grasp jokes and seldom gave out any. And as for the brave Rajam, the superintendent's son, who had supposedly killed a tiger single-handedly, he hardly uttered a word to anybody, just came to school at the stroke of the bell and went home at the last stroke of the bell, writing down everything that the teacher spoke. And you know that goon, Mani, he too was looking worried. He took every opportunity to follow the school clerk around, hoping to get the question papers for the exam. You know, there was a general belief that the school clerk, that guy, was omniscient and knew all the question papers of the class. Mani even took the trouble to gift him a bunch of brinjals so that he could get all the questions for the exam. The clerk actually denied having any knowledge of the question papers, but just a little more of the same judicious flattery, the clerk was moved to give what Mani believed was valuable hints, in spite of the fact that he did not know anything of what first form texts were. The clerk ventured to advise. Practice your geography. Maps. Asia, Africa, India, and every day solve 5 problems in arithmetic. English, I hope you've read all your lessons. Reread them thrice. Mani felt important. He secretly pitied his classmate who had to do all the hard work without all these valuable hints to lighten their labor. He felt he ought to share this good secret with his friend Swaminathan without divulging the sources. Indeed, they were going home one day from school. He stopped him. Mani said, "Young man, do you have any idea where we are getting, what we are getting for this examination?" Nothing outside the covers of the textbook, I hope." Mani ignored the humor. "Now listen to me carefully. Last night from 7 to 10, you know what I did? Munch groundnuts. Idiot, don't joke. I made 2 maps, one of India, 2 of Africa, one of Europe, Asia, and one of America. So that's like all the maps in the atlas?" "Maybe," Mani said, not quite liking the remark, "but I did it with some definite purpose. It may be that I know 1 or 2 questions, but don't let the other fellows know anything about it. I may get into trouble." Swaminathan was taken by in the seriousness and inferred a moral. Reaching home, Swaminathan also took out his atlas and, following the guidelines of Mani, started copying the map of Europe. But instead of replicating it, he sat there puzzled, worried about how crooked this country was. How did the people fit in this weird, crooked country of Europe? Then another favorite problem began to tease him. How did those map makers find out what was the shape of a country? How did they know that Europe looked like a camel's head? Probably they stood on these high towers and copied what they saw below. He wondered if he would be able to see India if he stood on the top of the town hall. Interesting. But then he shook off himself from this daze and copied the map of Europe. Then he put the original and the copy on the side. Although it didn't look that bad and looked more like the head of a strange animal which was part bull and part camel, he was happy with his work. And precisely then, father came home, saw his work, and said, "That's right, my boy." He was very happy with Swaminathan. Swaminathan felt that all his moment of suffering was over. Then the examinations were soon upon them. And on that last day, with dry lips, a parched throat, ink-stained fingers, and exhaustion on one side and happiness on the other, Swaminathan strode out of the examination hall. Standing in the veranda, he turned back and looked into the hall and felt slightly uneasy. He would have felt more comfortable if all the boys had given the papers as he had done, 20 minutes before time. With his left shoulder resting against the wall, Shankar was lost to the world. Rajam, sitting under the second ventilator, had become a writing machine, quickly writing down the answers like there was no tomorrow. Mani was still gazing at the rafters, scratching his chin with the pen, wondering what to do next. And P was back in his seat, revising his answers. One supervisor was drowsing in his chair and the other was pacing up and down with an abstract look in his eyes. Swaminathan suddenly wished that maybe he had come out too soon. But how could he stay in the hall so long? It was the Tamil paper and it was supposed to go out till 5 o'clock. He had found himself writing the last line of the question paper at 4:30. Out of the 6 questions he had answered the first to his satisfaction. The second was doubtful. The third was satisfactory. The fourth he knew he was clearly wrong. But then he did not know the correct answer. And let's not talk about the fifth one. The sixth answer was the best of the lot. It only took a minute to answer. He had read the question at 2 minutes to 4:30, started answering a minute later, and finished at 4:30. The question was very simple. What moral do you infer from the story of Brahmin and the lying tiger? The story, a Brahmin was passing along the edge of a pond. A tiger hailed him from the other side of the bank and offered him a golden bangle. The Brahmin at first declined the offer. No, Baba. But when the tiger protested its innocence and sincerity, it insisted upon taking the bangle. He waded through the water, and before he could hold on to the bangle, he was inside the tiger. Swaminathan had never thought this story could have any moral. But now he felt that if it must have one since the question paper mentioned it. He took a minute to decide whether the moral was, we must never accept a golden bangle when offered by a talking tiger. Or was it, love of gold bangles costs one's life? He saw more logic in the latter and quickly wrote it down. After writing, he looked at the big wall clock. Half an hour more. What was he to do for half an hour? But he felt awkward to be the first one to go out. Why could he not? Why could the others not finish their question paper quickly? He had found the time hard to give. Why wasn't the paper set for 2.5 hours instead? He had seen the supervisor observing him, so he started pretending to be busy with the answer paper. He thought that while he was about it, he might as well do the revision. He started reading the first question and then got really bored. He turned over the leaves of the answer paper and kept gazing at it. And finally pretended to, revisit the last answer. He looked at it so much that it totally lost its meaning. Then he just removed his paper and started underlining it with his pen until an elaborate design came out at the end line. He looked at the clock again, thinking it must be nearly 5 now, but it was just 10 past 4:30. He saw 2 or 3 boys pick up their papers and going out, and he felt super happy. He briskly folded the paper, wrote on the flap, Tamil, W.S. Swaminathan, first form A section, Albert Mission School, Malgudi, South India, Asia. And he ran out. Remembering all that, suddenly the bell rang. And now all the boys came out of the hall. It was through contrast to the preceding 3 hours, there was a din of excited chatter. Swaminathan quickly asked one of his classmates, "What have you written for the last question?" "Which one? The moral question. Don't you remember what the teacher said in class? Love of gold cost the Brahmin his life." There was that written. Swaminathan objected. There was no gold. There was only a bangle. How much would you have written for that first question, for the fourth question? 1 page, said one classmate. Swaminathan did not like the answer. He had written only 1 line. What? You should not have written so much. A little later, he found the nerds, Rajam and Shankar. Well, boys, how did you find the paper? How did your answer go? Not that bad, Swaminathan said. Rajam said, I'm afraid only of Tamil, but I think I'm safe now. I think I might get passing marks. Certainly not. You're going to get an A class, said Shankar. Look here, Swaminathan said, some fools have written a whole page for that moral question. A whole page? Rajam was alarmed. I only wrote 3/4 of a page. Shankar, who had the authority on the matters, he also said, I only wrote half a page. Oh my God, what to do next? Swami just looked slyly down and said, I too wrote about the length, half a page. Swaminathan had lied to say as a slave to his conscience and believed it for a moment, and then later was very worried about his future. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you, Geeta. So just I would request all the listeners to be with the story for some moments.